Welcome to Leadership Talk, the official Waymaker podcast, the place for conversations about leadership, strategy, and technology that help make business improvement business as usual. Hey, welcome to Leadership Talk, the official Waymaker podcast, where we have conversations on leadership, strategy, and technology to help make business improvement business as usual. I am your host, Craig, and this is Stuart Leo, CEO and founder. Did you like that intro?
I did. That was, it's a new season. It's a new intro. I've got a new jacket on. It's like, you've got a new haircut. It's just like the world's a better place.
We're good, Stu. It's New Year's. I don't know. Have you had COVID yet? I had COVID.
No, I've managed to dodge the special.
Right. My Queensland holiday was part isolation as a result of that, but it was still good to catch up with you when we were up there.
It was. I saw you briefly once and a half times, and then you isolated for the final 2 weeks of your holiday. But good on you.
Well, thank you. Well, hey, Stu, we're going to talk in this episode about mindsets and more particularly mindsetting.
Well, yes,
the verb.
The verb. That's a Waymaker special right there. We're going to coin a term in this podcast. The verb of mindsets is mindsetting, and
all right.
And so let's just lay this down. What did we call the topic of this? What was the topic of today's episode?
Oh, how to set mindsets and transform performance.
Yes. There we go. Thank you. And the art of that is mindsetting.
All right. Well, we should define our terms at the start of this conversation. Then, first of all, what is a mindset, Stu?
Yeah. Well, it's a state of mind. There you go. It's simple. It's a little bit more complex than that. Let's define a mindset as a state of mind, and it's a mental model of how we choose to see the world around us in a small way or a big way, but typically it's often in a small way, and so we hold mindsets around lots of different things. So we might hold a mindset on a big topic, but typically a mindset is held on lots of smaller topics that roll up, and so we want to talk about how mindsets are formed today, how they're the most important tool in the art of performance transformation, and I guess to get there, I want to talk about mindsets and how they hang together. And there's a great quote from. Normally, when we quote Berkshire Hathaway, we're always quoting Warren Buffett.
Money.
Yeah, and we're talking about money. True. Yeah, we're quoting Warren Buffett and we're talking about money. However, the really deep thinker, I think, in that relationship is Charlie Munger. Munger, I think that's how you pronounce his last name. And this is a longer quote, but it's on this big idea of building a lattice of thinking. And he says this, well, the first rule is that you can't really know anything if you just remember isolated facts and try and bang them back. If the facts don't hang together on a lattice work of theory, you don't have them in a usable form. You've got to have models in your head, and you've got to have an array of experience, both vicarious and direct, on this lattice work of models. You may have noticed students who just try to remember and pound back what's remembered. Yeah, that was me as a kid at school.
Yep, me too.
Well, they fail. Guess what? He goes on to say, they fail in school and in life.
Wow.
Maybe we didn't do it all the time.
It wasn't us.
And you've got to hang that experience on a lattice work of models in your head. And I love that quote. Think of a lattice, in the garden, and it's holding a vine or a tree or a number of plants together, and that lattice is holding mindsets. It could be a mindset as a whole. Typically, we'd call that a worldview, how we see the world, and that's made up of a number of mindsets, and they're hanging together on a theory of thinking. And Waymaker's leadership curve is a sense-making framework. It holds a lot of ideas together. And
so it's not just banging back data.
no, not at all.
Yeah.
Not at all. We definitely bang you back some data, but we do it in a way that's going to change mindsets. And
Awesome.
And in fact, we may or may not go into detail on this today, but we will give your organisation a mindset, which is different in our diagnostic. We'll give you a description of the mindset your organisation holds towards growth. And then we'll give that in the breakdown around sales or marketing or strategy or vision, etc. And that's really powerful because the way we think about a big thing like an organisation can be different to the way we think about something within the organisation. We might hold a mindset around, say, the topic of sales, which is different to a mindset that we hold about the organisation. So we've got to be careful to look at the lattice, the framework, the theory of everything, so to speak. And
Stu, this is not in my notes, but what's the difference between a mindset and a belief?
yeah, okay. Well, mindsets hold beliefs together. So a mindset is a state of mind, and a belief precedes that state of mind. And I'm going to refer a lot, I think, today to an amazing tennis match that we've just had in Australia, the Australian Open, which was controversial for all the wrong reasons around the world. And I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about the final between Rafael Nadal and the Russian Medvedev. And it was an amazing match. And it was amazing because that match was not won on anything but a mindset and the capacity to control the mindset. And a mindset, you've asked the question, what's the difference between a belief and a mindset? A mindset follows beliefs. So here we go. On that court, Rafael Nadal was 2.5 sets down. He was a few games from losing the match. What did he believe about himself for that match? Did he believe that he was a loser? No, he didn't. Did he believe that he'd lost the match? No, he didn't. Did he believe that he could win that match? Yes, he did, even though he was seconds, minutes from disaster.
I believed that he couldn't win it, which is why I said that my kids could stay up and watch it until it hit about midnight.
Yeah, so
as I said, I'm going to have to tell you who it is in the morning.
Yeah, that's awesome. We had a different experience in our house. My wife and I were watching something else, and it was like, "Oh, the Australian Open's on! Quick, let's watch the final." So we'd finished watching the movie on Netflix or whatever we were doing, and turned it over to the moment when Nadal was 2.5 sets down.
Right.
And I'm like, oh, I didn't expect that, but wow. And then we thought, let's just watch a few games, see what happens. It was really interesting. Medvedev was not in a focused, clear or winning mindset, although he was winning the match. He was getting jeered by the crowd. He was jeering back to the crowd. He was whinging about the ball, boys and girls. He was distracted and frustrated. And there was a critical moment in the match, and we'd watched a game, and then it was a turnover. I think every 2 games or something. I don't know the rules of tennis that well, but every few games you get a rest. You get to sit, and so Nadal's sitting on his seat. Medvedev's on his seat, cameras on both of them. You know how they split the screen, much like our podcast here. 2 amazing athletes, much like our podcast here. And there's Nadal, and he's focused. You know, he's having his Gatorade or his electrolytes, whatever he's putting down. And there's Medvedev, and he's having a go at the umpire, and he's waving his arms over here, and he's like, I'm like, what's he doing? He's clearly not focused. And he was complaining. He had a victim mindset. This is not fair. They shouldn't be doing that. And this shouldn't be happening. And although technically he was winning the match, and technically he was better than Nadal on the court, and physically he was younger and probably fitter than Nadal, his mindset was weaker. His mind was weaker. He was easily distracted. He was easily taken off task. And you could see Nadal looking at Medvedev. You could just see him looking across, looking at his opponent, studying his opponent. And I guarantee you it was in that moment that Nadal was going,
I can win this.
I can win this. And in fact, not only can I, now I know how. He'd found the Achilles heel. He'd unlocked it. And so they go back onto court, and the commentators were talking about it. And I said to my wife, I said, you know what? I reckon Nadal's going to put a few games away. This is going to get interesting. And what does he do? He breaks serve. He wins a game. What does Medvedev do? He gets some jeering from the crowd, which he didn't have a good relationship with throughout the whole tournament. And he's actually, turning up to the crowd and fake clapping and, being quite pretentious, quite undisciplined in his mannerisms. Meanwhile, Nadal is containing his emotions. He's controlling them. When he does something wrong, which he still did, he'd miss a point. He wouldn't exclaim and throw the emotion out. He would just, there would be an expression, but it would be controlled. But then when he won something and it was positive, he'd release it. It'd go and the crowd would get behind him. And he had control of his mindset, and he put a few games away. And it's like, oh, this is getting interesting. And I said to my wife, I said, you know what? If Nadal can win the next match, the next game, he's going to win this set and he's going to take out the match. And so we watched, he won the game, he turned it, he won the set, and it was like 11:15. I knew I had a big day at work the next day. And my wife and I looked at each other and went, let's go to bed. Like, let's go get some sleep. He's a winner. He's won it. And we went to bed. And I'm like, as sure as the sun will rise tomorrow, Nadal's going to wake up. I'm going to wake up to see Nadal the winner tomorrow. And it was fascinating. And so he had a mindset. In fact, he had a collection of mindsets hanging off a lattice that he was able to control, and he was able to maintain his habits, and he was able to control the triggers, and he was able to use those mindsets to transform his performance, because he knew on the court he could tell himself, he could believe that he was a loser, because that was the state in the marketplace, if you want to use that term, right at that moment, he was losing. But he didn't allow the circumstances to dictate the determination of his mindset. He had the strength and state of mind to manage feelings and facts, to process that in the heat of battle, to then combat what was going on around him. Does that make sense?
Yes. So the question everyone is asking then is, how does that help me in my business? And how do I even build that mindset? Because I could actually just choose to kind of go, well, I'm down, so I'm out.
Correct.
So
yeah.
So how do I build it?
And that is the art of mind setting. And
right.
If there is one thing more important than a mindset, it's the art of mind setting. Mm-hmm. And so we need to know how to turn a noun into a verb, how to turn the noun of a mindset thing into the verb, the doing of the mind setting. And that's the art. And there's a great saying that in a crisis never never creates a character.
It reveals it.
It reveals it. That character is formed before the crisis happened. And a battle, a contest, a marketplace competition moment never creates the mindset. It simply reveals it. And therefore we have to step back and develop our mindsets through mind setting beforehand. And so we need to actually learn how to do this. This is difficult. This isn't something you learn at school. We learn it organically. And we end up with a collection of mindsets. And it was really mindset theory, and I'm going to take a step back to get there. But it was in the 80s, 90s. I'm not an academic, but it was. If I look at my notes, there was a fancy term known as the implicit theory of intelligence, developed in the late 80s by some academics, Dweck and Leggett. Dweck, we know, Carol Dweck, went on to write a very famous book in 2005, 2006 called The New Psychology of Success, talking about fixed and growth mindsets. And so the idea of intellect and this mindset theory says that you can choose to take two positions on intellect. One position is to say, whatever I know and how I've learnt it and what I can achieve is fixed. I can't change my intellect. And that's what Dweck later went on to call a fixed mindset.
Yeah.
Or you could take the second position, and that is, whatever I know and whatever I've learned is not fixed, but rather I can improve it. I can challenge it. I can lift my intellect.
Yeah.
And that's called a growth mindset. So we know the popular psychology terms of fixed mindsets and growth mindsets, and it comes from this academic model of mindsets or intelligence called the implicit theory of intelligence. Blah, blah, blah. That doesn't help anyone yet, but it does as we start to build an understanding. So how do we get these mindsets? And we've got to recognize that as we grow up, as we experience things, we're actually forming mindsets, implicitly or explicitly. Hang on, is that the right term? Yeah. So we're forming a mindset accidentally or intentionally, maybe is a better way to phrase that. If you grow up in a home and in that home you learn that hard work pays off with rewards and that you've got to work hard to get a job and get paid and create value, you're going to grow up with a growth mindset that says, right, if I'm down on my chips, I've got to pull together and I've got to focus and I've got to create some value and I've got to go do something. Classic growth mindset. Or if I grow up in a house set or a culture that says, no, it's not your job to feed yourself. I'm going to do everything for you. You need money. Let me give you money. You need your first car. Let me buy your first car for you. Well, what kind of mindset are you going to grow up with? It's going to be completely different. And you can have that mindset growing up in a billionaire home or in a pauper home. It's because it's the mindset. Does that make sense? And so we build these mindsets through the experiences we have and the habits we adopt and the beliefs we build off those experiences. And so in a competition sense, if I lose 3 times in a row, I've learnt to go, recent history tells me I'm a loser, therefore I build a belief, I'm a loser. Therefore my mindset is losing. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Do I need a different experience in order to change my mindset? If my experience has always been I'm a loser, do I need to set myself up to win something so that I can change my mindset?
Yes.
From a business perspective,
yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. To learn the art of winning, you need to win.
Yeah.
You need to go, today, how can I win? What does winning look like? It might be converting a lead into a qualified prospect.
Yep.
It could be running an effective meeting where people don't argue, but we agree outcomes and we go do them. That could be winning. But learning to identify a win and learning to build repeated winning helps you build a mindset of what winning is and understanding how that can or cannot or should not impact the mindset of winning and the identity of yourself around that mindset. So absolutely. And nobody is an entire 110% loser. They might believe that about themselves, but it's because they haven't learned the art of stepping back and thinking critically. And when we think, we've got to balance facts and feelings.
Yep.
So Rafael Nadal, and basically the bridge in thinking, to think well is the bridge between facts and feelings.
Yeah.
To think well, I've got to take what I'm feeling and process it through facts, and take facts and process it through feelings, and constructively think about the situation in front of me. Let's take Nadal back on the court. Nadal could say, I've just lost 2.5 sets. I'm a loser. I feel like a loser. It's true. There's a small amount of facts and there's a large amount of feeling. Or Nadal could step back and go, I'm sitting on 20 Grand Slam wins. I'm equal to the greatest in the world, and I've got an opportunity to overtake the greatest in the world. I am a winner. I'm feeling like a loser, but my mindset is not about this match, because I'm not playing just for this match. I'm playing as a 20 Grand Slam winner that's about to become a 21 Grand Slam winner and recognised as one of the greatest of all time. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and you can also look back and say, I've won from here before.
Correct.
Right, so it's not like he's got to,
Yep.
do something that he's never done before.
Correct. And so he's trained his mind. We have mindsets that are formed through habits, through experiences that become default from deliberate. So we've got a whole bunch of default mindsets. How we approach the day. Do I set an alarm and get out of bed on time? Do I just sleep in and get out when I want to get out? Well, that's a mindset. And that's that mindset has been formed over habits. And so it's the small things we do that actually build up to the mindset. And so we hear authors talk about a default or a deliberate type of mindset. A default mindset is a mindset that is on automation. Our brains are phenomenal things. They so much of what we do is on automation. I come into the office, I put the key in the door, I unlock it, I go sit down at my desk, I'm on automation. I pick up the phone, I make a call. I'm doing complex things on automation. I don't have to think about it. It's second nature. It's what Maslow calls in his psychological analysis of learning unconscious competence. It's second nature. It's on automation. Is this making sense?
Yes.
But we've learned those habits. At some point we've stepped back and said, to drive a car, I have to learn how to move the gears or put it in gear or turn the wheel. And so they're deliberate moments. And a mindset's the same thing. We've got to step back and think deliberately. And we've got to say, what habits frame this deliberate thinking? So let's use an example in business. If we are facing a situation where we feel like we're losing, the marketplace is drowning us, and we're just not hitting the goals we need to hit, that organisation and the people within it will have mindsets around winning or losing. And it's possible that a collective mindset is emerging that, no, we're never one or two. We're never the winners of this market. If we're going up for a pitch against company A and B, well, why bother? Because we're always company C. Yeah? Mm-hmm. Versus turning around and saying, how do we change that mindset? And you change that mindset by stepping back and challenging the mindset itself. Going, is that a healthy mindset? Does that mindset actually help us move forward as an organisation? Do we have the belief that we can win? Okay, well, we would like to have the belief that we can win. How do we build that belief? And very simply, it's like what you touched on just before. We've actually got to find small wins. We've actually got to step back and go, actually winning today looks like turning a prospect into a qualified prospect. A winning salesperson learns how to win in the small things so they know what winning tastes like, and it gives them the capacity to know how to think and play and act like a winner when it comes to closing.
So as a CEO or a boss, I'm actually literally fabricating wins.
Correct. Yes. Yep. You are. Absolutely.
I'm actually creating opportunities for our team to experience what success looks like,
Correct.
even if it's not the big one.
Correct.
Like we're just changing our motor skills.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%. Let's go play little leagues and hit some home runs for a season.
Yeah.
To actually learn what it takes to win. And so as a boss, your job is not just to, raise capital and hire teams and go out and do. Your job is to help build a healthy culture with healthy mindsets. And those mindsets shouldn't be built on manipulation or falsehoods. I'm not talking about manipulating somebody into believing that they can win when they really can't. No,
that's right.
No, we're stepping back and we're saying, actually, this is what Nadal had done before he ever got to that match. He had stood on court and been coached around how are you going to behave when you're 2.5 sets down. You've got sweat pouring through your eyes. It's hard to see. It's hot. It's 40 flipping degrees in the Australian summer, and you've got to choose how you're going to behave. Are you going to be Medvedev, like losing control of his emotions and his personality? Or what are you going to say to yourself? What behaviours are you going to do? Is this making sense?
Yeah. And I probably should have said manufacture rather than fabricate. Fabricate sounds like it's
yes. Yeah.
under false pretenses, right?
I knew where you're going. And for anybody listening, I wanted to really just drill on that. It's not about a falsehood or a manipulation, but it's actually training. We've got to train.
Yeah. And creating opportunities to win.
Correct. And then stepping back and going, okay, how did we do that? How did we do that with our skills, with our systems, and with our mindsets? And what were we thinking about that? Did you walk into that phone call to turn that prospect from a potential to a qualified lead, knowing and believing that you could, or wondering and hoping? Did you walk in with the preparation and the questions and the process, or did you walk in winging it? And so all these little things, the building of skills and the establishing of systems and process, help hold the mindset together because they start to build a belief. And so Nadal knows he's down. He's not out, but he's down. He knows that he needs to go back to that chair and he needs to ask himself some questions. He needs to tell himself some statements. He needs to remind himself of the facts that he's a 20 Grand Slam winner. He needs to ask questions like, where is Medvedev weak? Where in his game is he not performing right now? Where are the holes that I can exploit? Yep. He'll have a framework for those questions. Yep. And as he's sitting there drinking that Gatorade, he's not chilling thinking about the Netflix movie he's going to watch tonight. He's got a framework in his mind that he's working through and he's focused. And as he works through that framework, it's dropping out insights. And one of those insights is Medvedev has lost his mindset, which literally means he's lost his mind when it comes to this match. Now, a player cannot win if they don't have control of the mind. And so he therefore had built that framework, those mindsets. Is this making sense?
Yeah. Stu, we need to wrap it up.
Ooh,
so I was
so
wondering
much more to talk about.
I was wondering if you could, like, just from a high level, kind of like summarize this idea of mind setting and basically some next steps that me as a business owner can apply to start transforming.
Yeah. So I think what we'll do another episode on this and we'll talk about triggers and habits and behaviors and how we can use those as the feedback loops. Let's do that.
Yeah, I love it.
So let's quickly recap. We're talking about mindsets. How do you use mindsets to transform into high performance? Well, what is a mindset? A mindset is a state of mind. It is what it is. We can have mindsets about small things. And in fact, mindsets about small things are held together under a lattice work of thinking, a framework that can hold many mindsets together. And what we want to do as teams is align those mindsets in ourselves and across our teams. Mindsets are framed by beliefs and habits. What I believe about a situation and what I habitually do in that situation.
Yep.
And mindsets are built over time, intentionally or unintentionally, and so that we all hold them. And our brain, 90% of the time, is operating on automation. And automation is using mindsets. Oh, I've got to get into the mindset of driving a car. Okay, jump in the car and drive. That feeling you have when you arrive home and you go, I don't even remember the drive here. Okay, you're on automation. You drove safely, but your brain took you home and you wandered off somewhere else. Mm-hmm. So you've got these mindsets that are either intentionally built or unintentionally built. If you've had good people around you over the years, a lot of the unintentional mindsets built can be positive and healthy, and they set you up. Great cultures breed great people. However, we all have mindsets that are false. I know I have mindsets that are false. What we've got to do is think about the situations where we go, actually, that's not true. I need to step back and think about that mindset. I need to actually understand the feelings and the facts, and I need to build a bridge between those facts and those feelings and frame up a new mindset and frame up a process of working through that. That allows me then to think about my work life, my work approach. And I now have the art and the tools for mind setting. Well, at least by the end of next episode you will. We're going to talk about some specifics, because mind setting is the deliberate process of designing and building mindsets that are built on truth, facts, feelings, and the reality of what's going on around, and that help you frame the world that can be and get you there. Is that making sense?
Yeah, it's awesome. I'm looking forward to the next episode, because just some real practical tools about how we might be able to mindset.
The art of mindsetting.
The art of mindsetting.
Yep.
No, that'd be really cool. Stu, it's good to talk to you in the new year. And this season, we really want to, just continue to have conversations on leadership, strategy, technology, all those things that are going to help make business improvement, business as usual.